AITA for exposing my wife's affair after she whispered another man's name? Jenna, 40, and I, 42, have been married for 13 years. In that time, we have grown significantly together. We both did not want children, which I think helped us focus entirely on building our careers. Before meeting her, I had a property maintenance business that was doing very well, starting with things like pressure washing and landscaping. From there, I expanded into general home cleaning, which was a highly profitable phase of the business. It was during that stage that I married Jenna. When I decided to add an interior design and home staging service, I decided to hire her. She did not have a fantastic job before that, so I let her take control of the design side because she has a real passion for it. I am technically her boss, but it never felt that way. We have been working together for years now, and it has been great. The only problem is that now I regret giving her such a good life. It would be fine if she were a loyal wife, but I am almost 90% sure she has been having an affair. Because of that, I regret every good thing I have done for that woman. I wish I had not shown her so much love, because it is very clear that none of it was truly deserved. I built a life with someone I cannot continue with. Here's the thing. I did not have definitive evidence that Jenna had been unfaithful, but it is the kind of evidence that would lead anyone with a brain to the same conclusion. We were in the bedroom being intimate, and during the act, I was almost 100% sure I heard her say Leo. She called out a name that is clearly not mine. The reason I was not absolutely certain at first is because my name is Jackson. The only Leo we know is a friend of hers who has become sort of a friend of mine. He is also a bit flamboyant, and although he says he is straight, I never thought of him as a threat because I never considered him the type of guy she would like. I immediately stopped what we were doing and asked her what she had said. Based on her reaction, I felt like she knew she had messed up, but she tried to play dumb. She asked why I stopped, and I told her she had said a name that clearly was not mine. She insisted she had said my name, claiming there was never a moment she hadn't said my name. The thing was that at that exact moment, my memory was very fresh, and I knew that was not what she said, so I stood my ground. Obviously, the mood was completely killed. Looking back, I would have expected her to be more defensive than she was, especially if she was absolutely sure she had nothing to hide. She can be explosive when she wants to, but this time she seemed to be handling things cautiously and was not too aggressive while trying to convince me she really had said my name. She asked me who I thought she had mentioned, and I told her I heard her say Leo. She said there was no way she would have said Leo because they had nothing going on and never had anything, even before we met. She suggested I must have misheard, perhaps because I was lost in the moment. That was what she said that planted a seed of doubt in what I was so sure I had heard. We went back and forth for quite a while, with her insisting she had mentioned my name. Eventually, I realized it was going to remain her word against mine. And the worst part was that my word was not even certain anymore, because I had started to doubt what I heard. So I let it go, but I was in a horrible mood the rest of the night. I got a little closer to her the next morning, but I knew things were not going to be perfect for a while. At least not until I was completely convinced I misheard. But my gut told me I heard what I heard. I couldn't just let it go without some kind of evidence. I was going to need to confront her or Leo, check her phone, or have her followed to see what I could find. I had a strong suspicion now, and maybe that was enough. Maybe I had to do the rest of the detective work myself, but I was determined to either prove it or disprove it. Update 1. The suspicion that my wife had been involved with one of her male friends would not leave my mind. I tried my best to get over it because it did not seem like the most solid basis for an accusation, especially considering how it happened. But being quite honest, I refused to believe I misheard what she said, so I had to take the situation into my own hands. The first thing I did was check her phone, which seemed like the most obvious first step. I knew who I suspected she was seeing, so I went straight to her text conversation with Leo. I scrolled through their messages for quite a while, but they were only talking about very mundane things. I even checked their direct messages on other social media platforms, but it was equally innocent. The thing is, I knew finding nothing did not prove nothing was going on, because it was very possible she had wiped the conversations. It was highly likely, especially since she knew I heard her say Leo's name. If there was something there, she certainly would have gotten rid of it. I considered confronting Leo, but I knew I would have no guarantee of getting the truth out of him. Besides, he was going to tell her the moment I left, which was not something I wanted. Sure, I knew it would be enough to make them stop their arrangement since they would know I was onto them. but I wanted to find out for sure. I did not want to be kept in the dark about my own marriage. I decided the best option was to hire a private investigator. The only problem was I had no idea how often these two were meeting. As much as I have a thriving business, I really did not want to pay an investigator to follow them around the clock for a full month. It would not make financial sense. Instead, I had to be strategic about how I had her followed. The way I did that was to focus on the weekends and evenings because we work at the same office. It is quite difficult for her to simply disappear during the workday. I knew she could go somewhere after work because she usually drove her own car to the office instead of us carpooling. So the plan was that on those days, I would send a message to the investigator to let him know I needed his services after business hours. That system worked pretty well because it covered the only time she could actually get away. I told myself that I was willing to put down money for a month of surveillance. But the moment that month passed and the investigator found nothing, I would give up and assume I misheard her that day. Well, here's the funny part. That full month passed, and I had spent several $1,000s. There was nothing to report. That was when I started to think she might have backed off from Leo because of her slip-up in bed. Again, that was something I would not be able to prove. I was not ready to spend another whole month paying an investigator to follow her. So instead, I was going to give it one last try. I told Jenna I planned to go see a potential client who was a few states away. I was going to do that over the weekend, when it would be most convenient for her to be unfaithful, and I was going to be away for a full day and night. It would give her the perfect opportunity to do whatever she wanted. I paid the investigator for that entire 24-hour period because I wanted to make sure he did not miss a single thing. She did not suspect anything, so I left on my fake trip. I made the entire trip I told her I would, just because I needed her to completely let her guard down. I sent her a picture when I landed at the airport and even sent a photo of the hotel where I checked in. After that, all that was left was to wait and let the investigator do his work. The thing is, I was incredibly paranoid at that point. I had such serious anxiety that she was seeing someone else. But nothing I had done had produced any proof. So I knew if the investigator said he found nothing, I would have no other choice but to believe she was loyal. The problem was I knew that lingering feeling would still be in my chest, and that was something I did not want to deal with. I wanted a completely clean slate for her. I had a decent time that day, although it was hard to completely get the thought of her being with him out of my head. Eventually, the next day arrived, and I returned home. I had to find an excuse to leave work early so I could go meet the investigator. When I got to his office, the first thing he did was slide a manila envelope toward me, and I could see there were photos inside. My heart really could not take it because I already knew that was practically confirmation. I opened the envelope, and the photos inside were pictures of Jenna and Leo outside an apartment complex, which I assumed was where he lived. I had been there before, but it had been so long I could not remember what it looked like. They went in and stayed there until early the next morning. Around 5 in the morning, she left his place. I was scheduled to return at 8 in the morning, so it made sense she had to return home early. As if it were not enough that she spent the night at his apartment, which is obviously inappropriate behavior for a married woman, the fact that they shared a quick kiss before she got into her car was all the proof I needed. It was a strange feeling. My heart was beating so fast it physically hurt. But at the same time, I felt a bit of relief knowing I finally had the truth and was not actually going crazy. I thanked the investigator for his work and left the office. I decided to have a casual conversation with her later that day to find out what she had been doing when I was gone. She claimed she just watched shows on Netflix, ordered some food, and had a quiet time at home alone. Obviously, her story was that she had spent the whole day and night at home, which completely contradicted the photos. It was obvious she was lying to my face. If I had even entertained the idea that there was an innocent explanation for her staying at Leo's place, it vanished at that moment because I had perfect proof. I had to hold myself back from the urge to confront her right away. It took all the willpower in my soul not to blow up right there. At that time, I still had a lot of money that needed to be moved and a lot of work to do to protect my assets. I had gotten a recommendation for a great family law attorney from my business lawyer, and the new guy was fantastic at his job. He knew how to get crafty. The last thing I wanted was for Jenna to end up taking a massive chunk of everything I had worked for my whole life. I would rather have seen it all burn than let her walk away easily. Update 2. I finally confronted Jenna about her affair. You can read my last post to catch up on exactly what I discovered. Everything had been sorted out with my lawyer, and he gave me the green light to proceed, so I did. I was very direct with her. I told her straight up I wanted to revisit the topic of Leo. It looked like that was the last thing she wanted to talk about, but there was going to be no escape for her. I told her I knew for a fact the two of them had an inappropriate relationship. My first question was to know how long it had been going on, but she immediately denied anything was happening between them. I asked if that was her final answer, and she said yes. So I asked her what she really did the day I was out of town. She hesitated. Then she maintained she had spent the day lazing around at home. I pulled out the photos and handed them to her. They were time-stamped, so there was no room for her to deny what was obviously happening in them. She just looked at the photos for a few minutes, and then handed them back to me. She did not say anything. She could not even make eye contact. I asked if she wanted to say something, but she still did not speak, so I jumped straight to the heart of the matter. I told her I had spoken with a divorce attorney, and that instantly made her show some life. She looked panicked. I let her know she was going to be served with the papers the next day, and it would be best for her to stay home. Otherwise, I would have them served at the office, which was not going to be a good look for her. Suddenly, she had a lot to say and, unsurprisingly, went straight to apologies. She said she did not know what had gotten into her. She claimed it might have been because she turned 40 and had a bit of a midlife crisis, but she promised it was not an indicator of the love between us. She knew she had made a terrible mistake, but it had been a stupid decision and a meaningless affair. She wanted us to really have the chance to talk about it. She said she was not trying to make me pity her, but she just wanted some understanding before I made my final decision. Sadly for her, nothing was going to fix the situation. I told her it was bad enough she had been unfaithful, but she did it with someone I had known for years, someone I had learned to trust. On top of that, she had lied to me numerous times throughout the whole thing, starting from the very night my suspicions began. I told her if I chose to stay with her, it was not going to be a happy marriage for either of us. She was not going to have a good time if I stayed. She started crying. She told me she would do anything, even cut Leo off completely. She said I was more important to her than him, and she knew the only path forward was letting him go. It seemed she felt this would fix everything for me, but I am not that naive. I told her there was nothing in the universe that could save our marriage at that point. She continued to cry. I stood up and told her she could stay in the house for now, and the court would decide which of us would get it. Then I went to my bedroom feeling extremely satisfied. In fact, I slept like a baby because all that pent-up energy I had been holding on to for who knows how long had finally been released. We started the divorce proceedings. I genuinely wanted to be done with this, so my hope was to offer her a large payout that would negate spousal support and her claim to the house. But it didn't surprise me that she refused. Spousal support would be better for her in the long run, and there were few ways I was going to be able to avoid that. It became clear we were going to go in front of a judge to resolve all this. I hate how long the legal process is taking, to be honest with all of you, but I know it is a mess I am going to have to fight through. Update 3. This is going to be my last update on this matter. It was helpful posting all this, but now that things have finally come to a natural end, I don't think there is any point in posting anything else. I am happy to be done with this chapter of my life, as painful as it might be. Ending any updates to this story right here feels like a good way for me to start moving on. As I mentioned in the last post, we knew things were heading to family court. I have to pay a pretty large amount in spousal support, which obviously is not fun for me. I did get to keep the house, which is great. The business was the tricky part of things. Even though I started it before we got married, its value saw a huge increase during our marriage. Because of that, she got a big payout based on the appreciated value, which the court considered a marital asset. My lawyer had already let me know that was how it was likely to go in our state. Fortunately, my lawyer helped me legally secure a lot of my liquid assets beforehand. So when the time came to divide the monetary accounts, I was able to keep the majority of my wealth. I do not think many people would blame me at this point. This is a woman who took a large chunk of my business, and a woman I am expected to pay support to for the next several years. I fired her since technically she was still an employee of my company. I do not know if she thought we were going to be mature and keep things running, but I had no interest in doing that. I know how much she adored that job. It became a dream position for her pretty quickly, but she broke my trust and does not deserve that happiness. When I told her she was being let go, she begged. She begged more than she did when I told her we were getting a divorce. It only made me feel better about my decision, since it was clear how much she wanted to keep the job. She cried a lot. She told me she was truly sorry for what she did, but her final request for all our years together was that I let her keep her position. I was feeling completely cold toward her and said no. I am surprised I did not give in with all her pleading, but I am proud of having stayed strong even though she tried to manipulate me emotionally. She left the office quite shamefully too, carrying all her personal items in a cardboard box in the middle of the day. I could have been nice enough to let it happen at the end of the day after business hours. But she did not think about me when she decided to get involved with Leo, so I did not care about her feelings. Actually, I think she made out well. She has a massive settlement payout, and she can use it to start whatever business she wants. That is it for my relationship with her. I will admit it is incredibly hard to let go of a marriage this deep into it, but I simply had to do it. I cannot be a fool and let myself stay in a broken partnership that means nothing if there is no trust. The moment you detect that, it is time to end it. I only hate myself for not questioning her more intensely with my initial suspicions. But hey, I got there in the end, right? Comment. Going through a deep betrayal is one of the most painful experiences anyone can face. Sometimes the hardest choice we have to make is walking away from someone we deeply loved in order to protect our own self-worth. Choosing your peace of mind is never a mistake, even when it means starting over completely. You cannot control how others handle your trust, but you can always control how you respond with dignity. Setting firm boundaries is a profound act of self-care. Healing takes time and patience, and it is perfectly normal to feel hurt or lost along the way. Just remember that someone else's inability to see your value does not diminish your worth as a person. I hope you all find the courage to demand the honesty and respect you truly deserve in your own relationships. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.